Welcome back to Sixes and Sevens Footy Nerds guest. Our special guest today is a bloke that's won 6 premierships, coached Queensland, won the only, Kevvie Walters.
What a privilege, eh? Obviously, grown up watching the back end of Kevvie Walters' career and then watching him pull my pants down as a Queensland coach, and then just to see, we looked through his stats last night, Toddy, six grand finals. I'm excited for this one.
Well, Kevvie, thanks for coming on Sixes and Sevens.
Well, this is my show. This is what I do.
That's right. And you know what? Lucky we got him before you, because tell you what, you and Alfie would have took straight past us.
I wouldn't have any views if they took over.
No, we spoke about it, Alf and I, about possibly doing a podcast, but it that was in November of last year, but we never got around to it. So, and then I went to, to register the name, and then I thought, gee, someone said they've taken it already. And then I saw who. I thought, oh, the buggers.
Yeah,
good on you, boys. Good having a crack, eh? It's good fun.
We done a little bit of Triple M last year in the footy talk, and our feedback was pretty good about. Obviously, we've had a bit of a checkered career, and we've got a bit of scallywag in us, and now we're sort of diving into the footy stuff and trying to obviously dissect games, reviewing and previewing and stuff, but also trying to. This is why we've got you on, Kevvie, we're trying to give an insight to fans, older listeners, younger listeners, about what it actually takes to make it. And as you know, you've been a player and a successful player, more successful than anyone at 6 grand finals, and then as a coach. But we're trying to sort of give back to, like I said, the viewers of what it actually, even if you don't want to make it, for a young kid, or parents that are listening that kids haven't made, or they're trying to get their kids on that track, what it is that made you tick, what it was like for younger days for Kevvie growing up as a player. We always a half or a 5'8".
Righto.
Yeah.
We speak a lot about dynamics of 6 and 7s and how you sort of came through. Obviously, we were around Sticky and Laurie and great Alfie Langer as well, so we're keen to hear about some combinations and how you see the game out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll start.
Pretty in awe, aren't we, Toddy, to be honest?
We are, mate. Like obviously, from as me as a Canberra Raiders fan, I was lucky enough to play there, but growing up, you look at back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I went back through all your stuff last night when we found out we were lucky enough to get you on this morning. It was just like, I was saying to Pierce, he was sitting on the couch last night going through it, and it was like, he played 6 grand finals, started at the Raiders.
Yeah, well, that's how I originally started with the Raiders. So I played, in the Queensland, well, I was 19 or 20. So back in the day, boys, because you New South Welshmen used to pinch all the Queensland talent, so they made a rule, the CEO of the Queensland Rugby League at the time made a rule that only 3 Queenslanders were allowed to go per club to Sydney, right? So if you're the 4th one that wanted to go to the Raiders and 3 had signed, you had to stay. So at the time, the Raiders were seen as a Queensland flavour club. They had Meninga, Belcher, Sam Bacco, Jay Hoffman, Stephen, my brother, was there. There was like 8 Queenslanders in there. So this is before the rules came in. So the year I went down in 87, it's myself, Peter Jackson, and I think it was Steve Jackson, who scored that try in the grand final. Yeah. So they were the 3 Queenslanders that went to the Raiders that year. And it was a great year. We actually making the grand final against Manly. It was the last grand final at the SCG, and I was only a kid, so I just thought, how good is this? This must happen every year, And unfortunately for some, it never happens.
Well, I played one and got beaten, never got lucky enough to play again. Piercy talks about he learned so much from 10. You played in 87.
Yeah, I was just off the bench at
in 87, then 89, you go on to win one.
Yeah,
plenty of practice when you're playing 6, isn't there?
Well, I was off the bench both times in those, which gave me a great experience, and also just sort of made me really determined the next time that I come back here, I want to be starting, and I was fortunate enough, for that to happen. But the 89 grand final was a famous one. Your dad was obviously playing in it against the Raiders, and Blocker and Cero got pulled off by
Warren Ryan.
Yeah, at the time there was no interchange. It was once you're off in those days, you're off. So that was a big turning point, I feel, for the Raiders, and end up getting through. And
What was that game like to be a part of, Kev? Obviously,
amazing.
Everyone says it's the greatest ever.
yeah.
Was it intensity or was it just the standard of footy? Or?
Yeah, it was everything. And, I think it was because it was the Raiders' first premiership as well. And the Tigers had been there, I think. No, they went there the year after or the year before. No, they were there in 88 as well and got beaten. So they were there again, and it was the first time the Raiders had won a premiership, and Mal was a captain. It was just a big moment in the game, and particularly the way it all finished, with Steve Jackson's try. Like, Steve was a guy from Queensland who hadn't played a lot of first grade that year, in and out, and then he gets his moment on the big stage and he grabs it, And then there was a Chris O'Sullivan field goal as well. So many things, Benny charged down. Benny's field goal got charged down, all sorts of things.
That had a couple of errors too. I think he liked back.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to go anywhere near that because I've got so much respect for you guys. But, it was just, some games in footy, you're meant to win.
Yeah.
It just meant the footy gods, Phil Gould talks about all the time, and I'm a big believer in the footy gods. Sometimes you're meant to win, and sometimes you're meant to lose.
Yeah.
And it's one or the
So
other.
true.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
And we've all been through it. Some games you win, you walk off, you think, wow, how did we win that? That was lucky. Other games you walk off and you lose, you think, oh, that sucks. But really, not much we could do about it. So, and that was the case for the 23 grand final when I was coaching the Broncos.
Yeah.
Penrith were meant to win that game.
Yeah.
Cleary was brilliant what he did. But just for some reason, some things happened in that game that don't normally happen with our players.
Yeah.
And things happen in a game, in split things, I'll give you an example. All year we were trying to convince Herbie Farnworth when he gets out of dummy half, skip, find a pass sometimes. You're good with your contact, but sometimes because he draws players in, find a pass, there'll be some space for someone on the outside. Keenan Palacia pushes up, Herbie skips across, and the pass just doesn't quite hit the mark. Yeah. They get the ball, they go downfield, they score.
It is true. The moments in time that sort of you go back to, and it's like, that was meant to happen for a reason.
Yeah. And even the 2015 grand final, Broncos, Cowboys, I was an assistant coach at the Broncos, and Adam Blair, and you blokes are kickers, he never misses a kick pressure.
That's right.
Does he? He's always in your face.
He's one of the best.
Back in the day, he used to clean blokes up, you blokes in particular.
Yeah.
Good kickers. And in this moment, last tackle, it's a bounce pass. So that stops everyone. Last play of the set. And then because of the bounce pass, Adam Blair misses his kick pressure on Thurston. Thurston jumps the other side of the ruck, and then they end up scoring. It's just little moments that they happen for a reason. So, myself as a player and now as a coach have learned to understand and accept that a little bit more than, say, 5 years ago. Even when you're playing, you just get so filthy when you lose. But there's a reason sometimes why you lose and a reason why you win.
Is that how you were able to deal with ups and downs of footy?
Yeah.
Like just trusting that it's all part of part of faith sort of thing?
Yeah, well, I sort of got you got to have self-belief as a player. No one else is going to give it to you. Maybe a coach will, but if you don't have it yourself, it makes it really hard. Because my first 3 or 4 years in grade, I was sort of playing more reserve grade than first grade. And I was in good sides, but it would have been easy for me to just say, oh, look, I'm going to, this is not for me. I'm playing footy and I love playing footy, but I wanted to be the best player I could, and I just feel like that I wasn't believing enough in myself. So I've taught myself over the years to just, regardless of what's happening, just always believe in yourself and the skills you have, because your mind is really powerful, really powerful. When someone tells you that you can't do something or you're not good enough, and that's a message in my mind, well, I'll show you.
Yeah. When you say self-belief, Kevvie, obviously as a player, we instill it in ourselves, but then you went on to coach.
Yeah.
How do you instill self-belief into players?
Well, I think you do it relationships-wise. Mm-hmm. Everyone's talking about, what a great coach these people are with their block plays, but it's more about your relationship with a player, I see as a coach. and believing in them as not only as a player but also as a person. That you've got great faith in them that they're going to be a good player, not because they're highly skilled, but because of their character, and you want to bring their character out where and that resilience, all those things that you need as a player. That's how I see it as a coach.
Resilience and toughness. Growing up with brothers.
Yeah.
How was that? Is that where it all started for you? Like, obviously rugby league must have been a big part of your family.
Yeah.
Is that where it starts? Because everyone they talk about the Walters brothers.
Yeah, definitely.
Tough.
Yeah.
Relentless.
Yeah.
In everything.
Well, we played footy in the backyard. I was lucky. Big families. There's not big families around so much anymore. We played in the backyard, and I was the youngest, so I'm a twin with Kerrod. And so we used to get the oldest brother, which is Brett, and myself, the youngest, used to play against the three middle ones, and it was good fun. But you sort of learnt there. You didn't get away with anything. Your brothers were tough on you, and if you got a bad call, they gave it to you. So I feel that was, and I was very fortunate as a young kid. The junior club that I played at, I got really well coached, like the skills of the game, which is often overlooked in junior clubs now. They want to go straight to what the NRL players are doing. But if you look at the NRL players and how they score their tries, and it's all the skills. It's passing, catching, running straight, sidestepping, even tackling, ties and all that. Like, I was really fortunate, and all my brothers were, that the junior club we were at, we had really good coaches who taught the basics and the fundamentals really well, which I think's really, really important to get to where even the NRL now. You have a look at how many shit passes that people throw. Wingers. Learn to pass wingers.
What's the tips that you got back then? Obviously, how the game's changed, and they say it is coached too much like senior footy now. What's the skills? Was it triggers? Was it basic passing? Like, what is it that just developed you more? That's the things that have changed nowadays compared to back then.
Yeah, well, I think the catch and pass. Off the right foot, passing off the right foot. I mean, and knowing when to pass and when not to pass. That's a big thing. If you get a bad pass off someone, that normally triggers another bad pass. So little things like that. And defensively, I know the game's changed a lot, but the old technique that we got taught, which is out of the game now, obviously, but with your head on the right side and your feet in the right place, and all those just little things that we got taught as kids really helped, as you got older. And if you look back, through your games, which you do when you're playing, and you're trying to find reasons why you're missing tackles, it's all about your technique, and it's all about your technique, and you've just strayed a bit from that. So, yeah, I think coaching's many things, but I think it's really important as a young kid, and there's lots of kids playing our game, millions of them now, that they get taught right from the beginning.
It is pushed aside a bit. They just talk about the block players, and as coaches and younger kids coaches, they're all rugby league fans. So you've got to actually have a coach to obviously start a team. And some coaches are volunteer coaches, so they watch their favourite team on TV and they go, "This is how we're going to play tomorrow, boys," and they go try and practice that. And I work at Cooper Park, and their education and coaching is really good. And you get some kids coming and you ask them, "Do you watch football? Do you watch the game?" And I say to some of them, our halves, "I'm going to give you some homework and watch some footy." They go, "I don't really watch it." And I'm like, I was talking to Piercy about, like, you got to love footy,
mate,
to make it. Do you believe that? You've
100%.
got to actually watch every game, I reckon.
Well, as Queenslanders, we only got the one Sydney game, because Sydney was the place you wanted to be. That was the best competition. This is before the ARL, or the New South Wales, and the Broncos, all these teams were in the comp. So
who was people playing for then? Sorry, Kevvie. The local
competition.
So it was like second division.
Yeah. Well, it was first division here, but it was like we couldn't beat you guys at Origin because all of the great Queensland players were playing
at a lower level, at club level.
Down in
they were
Sydney.
playing in Sydney.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, so the competition here was, you had, there was the two teams through the 80s when I was sort of growing up, was South and Wynnum Manly. So South had Meninga, Belcher, Jackson, host of players, and then Wynnum had Gene Miles, Wally Lewis, Greg Dowling, all these guys. So there was a lot of internationals still playing here, but they wanted to go to Sydney and play with the big boys down there, So, yeah, that's the way it was. And then when you got your opportunity in Sydney, it was unreal for me as a kid. I mean, I looked up to Mal, Meninga and Wally and all those guys, but then playing against the Bulldogs and Steve Mortimer was playing. Like, I remember watching him on telly in the grand final. The Bulldogs were the team, through the 80s, and the Roosters with their teams, and Manly. It was just that first grand final against Man. I just couldn't believe, like, even Paul Vaughton was in that side. As a kid, we loved Paddy playing State of Origin and all that stuff. So, yeah, it was a great experience.
You spoke about playing in the backyard with your brothers, but you also just touched on blokes you looked up to. Who was your idol growing up? Who did you want to be like when you were playing?
Tommy Raudonikis.
Yeah. Why?
Oh, I just loved the way he played. Yeah. He was tough, and he just, I was nowhere near as tough as Tommy, but I just loved what he brought to a game. I remember it was a State of Origin game, and they put Tommy on the bench. New South Wales did. This would have been the early 1981. You blokes weren't even born, right? So go back and watch it. So New South Wales were gone, and they called on Tommy off the bench.
Yeah.
And he changed the game. He went on, he belted two Queensland all of a sudden their mindset's taken away from playing footy. Yeah. Raudonikis, he's tough, he wants to fight us, And he changed the whole game. He scored a try, just out of dummy half, just close to the line, and then got New South Wales home. And I just remember, you little bugger, but I like what you do. And then one of my great moments in rugby league was playing against Tommy.
Yeah, right.
So he was captain coaching Ipswich, and I was playing for local footy. So
he wouldn't have got much of a welcoming up here, would he?
Coaching in Queensland. Yeah. They loved him, Tommy, because Tommy was Tommy, just his character. He's infectious, Yeah. Anyway, so I was feeding the scrum, and Tommy was the opposition halfback, and he had spit coming out of his thing, and we were winning by plenty. And he said to me, listen here, you little C, if you throw that ball, if we don't win the scrum from this ball, I'm going to belt the shit out of you. I said, what do you mean? He said, you effing heard me. So I shit myself,
You make sure you get it done.
I threw the ball into their second row, so they won the scrum, and he looked at me and winked. I thought, you beauty. About a week later, there's a knock on the door, and it's Tommy. He's come around to sign us up for the Jets, for the bigger.
How good.
Step up, for myself and Karen. It was a real. I couldn't believe Tom Raudonikis was standing at my door,
knocking on your
the
door.
house I grew up at. I was used to be him in the
backyard. Do you reckon he would have knocked if you didn't throw the ball in the back of the scrum?
He would have egged it.
Probably not. But I didn't have a choice. And those that have played against Tommy, they tell me some stories. And Roy Masters, I know Roy coached him at Newtown and at West, and he was really an inspiration for myself and Alf. Alf loved Tommy.
Yeah, right.
Tommy loved Alf. And he just had an instant connection with people. He's just, and his desire and his drive, it's really infectious,
Yeah.
His will to win, Cool.
How do you reckon the halves go these days playing up against Tommy, the toughness?
Oh, well, none of us would
Nah.
Who's the toughest halfback in the game? Probably
Kieran Foran, maybe I'd say.
Kieran Foran's probably the toughest at the moment. Obviously, my idol growing up was Joey. I watched, obviously.
Well, Joey was tough. Yeah. And we're all tough.
We're all tough in some point. You've got to play rugby league, but this guy was different.
Well, he used to belt front rowers in those days. And the halves now, shove front rowers, knowing that they're not going to get belted back. I would never push a middle forward, like push Les Davidson. Alfie pushed him one day, and he got through on his chin before he knew what was happening, poor old Alf, So these days it's different, but
what do you reckon's changed with the game? Talking about fear, like coming through those early days when you could get punched in the head. As a half, we always talk about it. It would have been, if I'm playing against Blocker back in the day and knowing
Blocker
he can rip
was
my head off, or
there's
Davidson, obviously nowadays you're pretty protected. Do you reckon that's changed?
Oh, it's changed.
A lot of the players wouldn't last, or?
Yeah, I would not say wouldn't last, but they'd have a different perspective on how they play.
You'd have to think.
You've got to think a lot more on who's in front of you, because you've got, these days.
You're going like that, aren't you?
Yeah, well, that was the case. Like, you used to have to have a look up and see. I remember, because I played a lot next to Gordy Tallis, and a lot of players would get the ball and sort of run, and they'd see Gordon, their eyes would just, you just see the look in their eye. Oh, shit, what options have I got? And not because I used to fend beside him. They'd just zero in on me. So I did half of Gordon's tackling over his career. But then he'd come over the top and clean them up, or they'd get through me or whatever. But, it is a different game. But I love the modern game. I think it's great, particularly the protection they have on the halves now with the kick pressure and all that got way out of hand, you know. And I was never a great kicker of the ball, but because Alf used to do all the kicking, and I don't know how he used to get that ball downfield. Go back and have a look at some of his kicks like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how he used to do it, but anyway, he used to do it. So yeah, it is different, but I think in a positive way, because the halfbacks these days, there's a lot of pressure on them, isn't there, to get things done and around the team, and it's a big job.
I want to get to Alfie obviously a bit later in detail, but
Yeah.
you started at Canberra. Ricky Stewart had a little bit to do with Sticky at Origin, and then
Love
he got me to
Sticky.
the Roosters. I love Sticky too.
Yeah.
He was always good to me. Gave me a lot of talk about confidence. A coach instilling confidence. He sort of gave me a lot of belief as a young halfback. Got me to the Roosters and
Yep.
really trusted in me.
Oh, he was the one that gets you to the Roosters?
Yeah, Sticky was the one that got me there. So
Yeah, right.
I always had a good relationship
And
with Sticky.
You've been coached by Stick too, haven't you?
In Origin, yeah.
Origin, yeah.
Well, tell us about him as a
Sticky?
Yeah.
Oh, competitor, mate.
yeah.
Yeah, competitor. Wanted to win everything. He was good, really good player. Great kicker, passing. So we played together in Canberra, but wasn't going to work with all but three of us there. So I moved back to Brisbane, and the first game we played against them, the Raiders, they beat us because it was the Raiders and the Broncos in the 90s were the two sort of teams with a lot of Origin players, and there's always a good battle. We never got to a grand final together, but we had some great games and some great battles. And this one, I got Sticky, and I tried to punch him on the ground. I missed him because he was just annoying me, like because they were winning, and you know. And anyway, I think they kicked the ball, and he was running past me. Yeah. He said, "Hey, no need to punch me there and stuff." He said, "Why don't I come and see you when I'm doing my victory lap, and we can sort it out?" Then I thought, you know. And then he looked around and smiled, and so yeah, we've had lots of battles. Him and Alf were battling for the 7 jumper for Australia, or you know, back in the 90s. They had some great battles too. But then you go on tour with these blokes on the Kangaroo tour, you know, and you just get on like a house on fire.
What was the Kangaroo tours like back then?
Oh, a lot better than they are now.
Yeah.
You know, because there was the Emus, which I was an Emu, and then the Kangaroos who played the big games on the weekend. I was a midweeker, so Emu. So if you're an Emu, you had a better social life, but you didn't get to play in the big games.
I experienced the Emu life.
Yeah.
Put me back down death's door.
Went downhill after that.
Went downhill after the
Yeah,
Emu
well, you've got to
trip.
stay in control, otherwise it can be a bit messy. But I roomed with Desi Hasler,
Oh yeah.
and Desi was a reserve or he's in the side maybe. So he was a genuine Kangaroo, and I was an Emu. But I used to come home and wrestle him, you know, do all the things, and he loved it. I'm not sure if he loved it, but he
wasn't a
played
big
lot.
drinker, Des, was he?
No, he wasn't.
No.
He'd have a few beers, but that was it, you know.
Yeah,
whereas I used to go out a bit and sort of stay probably too long and come home a bit late. But he was a great roomie in 19. I'm not sure he'd say the same back to me. He was a good fella, Desi. It's good to see him doing well with the Titans too. They had a good win on the weekend.
Yeah, you had Laurie at the Raiders. Well, you were together at the Raiders.
Yeah.
He was a centre.
More of a centre then, yeah.
And
he was
then
great too.
When
Laurie.
did he transition to a 5'8", or did he have those skills?
Oh, he had him. I think he originally came as a 5'8", but there was myself and Chris O'Sullivan was the 5'8" there as well. And he
Chris
was
O'Sullivan the 6 in '89.
he was the 6
Yeah.
starting.
6.
Belcher was fullback.
Belcher fullback, yeah.
What a
It was-
team!
it was a gun
What a
team.
team, man!
It was a gun
Lazo
team.
front row.
Lazo front row, yeah. Brent Todd, you remember?
Great
Yeah.
Clyde. Brent Todd. I ran into
Yeah.
him in Bali.
Yeah.
He lives over there.
Yeah, he lives
Had
over
lunch with him,
part-time over
actually.
there.
Yeah,
Runs a tattoo shop, I think.
Yeah.
Chicker Ferguson was the winger. John Chicker Ferguson.
yeah.
Now, he loved his durries, Chicker.
He scored a try late, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So he loved his durries. He would have a durry 5 minutes before he ran out, you know. Just go out the back of the change room and
Before the game.
before the game. Loved it. And then go out and just play the house down. Score tries, make all these runs, you know. They never kept stats in those days of the back fives, meterage and all that, but Chicker was that was his game, was bringing the ball back from kick returns and then try scoring opportunity. He used to nail it, you know. But the most lovable sort of guy. And at training, I'd run past him at training because he didn't care. But in the games, no one ran past him.
Lazy trainer.
Lazy. Well, he just did enough through training, you know.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you could. But come game day,
Yeah.
man, there was no one better than Chicker. Loved him.
Sheens is your coach. What was he like?
He was good.
Yeah.
Well, we had Don Ferner
First.
and Wayne. They were co-coaches. Well,
Yeah.
Don was the main coach.
Oh, Wayne Bennett was at
He
Canberra.
came down.
Canberra then,
89.
yeah. No, 89 was
89 was
Shandy's,
Shandy's.
yeah.
87, Wayne, that was his first gig in the New South Wales Rugby League.
Yeah.
But then the Broncos came in 1988, so he went back and coached them. We had Don Furner, who was the Australian coach, so it was amazing. And Dean Lance was the captain. He was a tough as teacup, olden style player, but he was really good. It was just a good bunch of fellas there. That the timing was right, with Mal and Belcher and Peter Jackson was there. Chris O'Sullivan was an old bush. He was the Raiders true and true. So it was a good mix of players to get the club. They had some great years, and then you got Laurie thrown in there. Laurie and Sticky. They were really dominant through the 90s as a halfback 5'8" combination. My brother was there. Steve was a good player. Had lots of good players in key positions. Same as it is now, the old spine,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you finished at Canberra and you moved back to Queensland?
Yeah.
Back to the Broncos. How was that?
It was good. It was an easy decision. No, not an easy one, but I just felt I was a bit blocked where I was at Canberra. And coming back to Brisbane, my brother Kerrod had played for Queensland and Australia already, and Alf, who I'd played a lot of footy with as well, was playing for Queensland and Australia. So I thought and we had a good understanding as players, like that, it's that instant ability you have with other people just to know what they know what they're doing.
Was that from the start?
Yeah, it was from the start, yeah. And Alf, some people couldn't play that well with Alf. If you're a 5'8", they couldn't understand what he was sort of doing, but because we've known each other since we were 4 or 5 years old, so I could always understand where Alf was going and what he was such a delight to play outside of Alf, because just opportunities just opened up because there's so many sweating on him, and if you just supported him and tracked where he went, you'd always get a ball. He'd put a grubber through. He was so good to play outside of and made me look, a lot better than what I actually was. That's what the great players do. They make people around them better players, and that's what Alf did.
What was his secret like as a half? I love talking to Andrew Johns. Had a good relationship for him for years, and he talks about where his vision was around the ruck and his trigger points. I haven't heard too much from Alfie or had too much to do with him, but I'd love to know what was his? You had the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
What was his greatness? Well,
he just knew when to grab the moment, really, and he wanted the ball in his hands on every play. He could spot. He was always looking. So as a half, and I'm sure Alf would agree with me here, the first option you're looking for is run. If I got an advantage here, is there a tied forward in front of me? Is there a lazy forward? Is there someone that doesn't normally defend in that position there? So Alf would look for that. Second option is to pass, and third option to kick. Well, Alf's running game and his kicking game and his passing game was good, but not as good as someone like Joey. But that didn't matter because his running game was so effective and his short kicking game, so many tries off kicks that every Alf scored or others around him scored. And if I look back, in time and how many games that he won, Alf won for us, just by one moment where he's chipped, grubbered, sidestepped, dummied, he's had a great dummy and go against, and because he's so small and diminutive, the big fellas thought, I'm going to smash you, mate. I'm going to clean you right up. But they couldn't
Straight past him.
Couldn't get near him, and Alf was a winner. Like, he just hated losing. And he'd let you know as well, and let the team know as well. So he just dragged everyone, I saw that documentary on Michael Jordan where he used to get stuck into his players, if they weren't playing to a level that he wanted them to. Not at a level where that they couldn't play to. Yeah. Just at a level where you expect them to be. And that's what Alf was like. In behind the smiling Alfie Langer, there was a drive and a desire to win and make those around him win as well, and accountable for what they're doing on the field, Do you
reckon that was important back in those days? Obviously now you've got to want the win. You've got to have the desire to win. But do you reckon back then in the early days was toughness and that attitude of wanting to win and making... Doesn't matter if your team wasn't with you, you're going forward. Is that how... that's how I see it?
Yeah, definitely.
When you hear about it.
Definitely. Certainly with Alf, and Wally was the same. I was fortunate to play in a few teams with Wally, and he had that. He was a different style of player to Alf, but he looked ahead. He saw more forward planning than Alf was off the cuff. This play, next tackle, not very much planning with Alf.
Yeah.
That's where I helped Alf, was with the planning side of it.
Yeah, right.
So you were more of an organiser.
Got a bit more structure around him,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so, and let him do his stuff, but then say, hang on, Alf, we've got to go here first before we can go there. What have I got to do that for? I just want to go. Just settle, Alf, you know. And so that's why I think we were a good 1-2 combination, because he was the dynamic and he was the star of it all, and I was sort of sitting back and just sort of, I sort of guided it a bit more and just trying to think of the right words to use here, gave Alf some more options rather than just him by himself.
Yeah.
You know, around the team. So, I think that's why we work so well. And I really understood his game. And when he would just do things off the cuff, I would be there beside him in support, just for him to pass me the ball. And then I just run over and score. He'd done all the work. Yeah. He just passed me the ball. You know?
You're always very humble, Kevvie. Obviously, it's a pleasure to sit down with you, but me and Toddy were just saying last night, like everything you've achieved and 6 premierships. We sat down with Nath Cleary recently, and we're in awe of Nath, you know, to not win 1 comp, 2 comps, to win 4 back-to-back. But
yeah, I'm not
you've
real
coached,
happy
but
at the moment.
Even listening to you now, and you're always giving your teammates credit and everyone else around you. What was your greatest strength? I've heard, you know, from all the greats, Gordon Tallis and Shane Webke, they all speak about your leadership and your ability to bring the group together.
Yeah, I reckon that is, if I'm being humble, I'm a very humble person, but I think that is. I think I've got a good ability to communicate with people to get them to the common goal, you know. I'm all about the team. That's how what I see. And even that's why I still believe in my coaching career, because coaching's not about block plays and inside balls. It's about bringing a group together for the common cause to be successful, you know. And as a head coach, you put people around you, and I know the game well and all of that, but you put people around you to coach the attack and coach the defence, but pulling the team together for the common. And who's your favourite coach, boys?
Well, Matty Elliott was mine, and those same reasons, because he brought the group together and he showed trust in me.
Yeah.
Definitely Matty.
Trent Robinson would be mine.
Yeah.
Because I'd probably played my best footy under Robbo there, and he was great at that.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, and I was lucky in my career. I had so many great coaches, and I learned from all of them, from Wayne Bennett, Bob Fulton, Arthur Beetson, you know, Mal. I got coached by Mal. So many, Tim Sheens, you know, at Canberra, I learned so much down there. Tim was way ahead of himself as far as innovation goes, and he was a good team building person too. But I remember in the late 80s, Tim used to get the trainers to run Mars bars out to the players in training for the energy hit.
No way.
Yeah, and thinking, like, come on, Timmy, you know. But
it worked.
he was ahead of his time, mate.
Yeah.
Ahead of his time, you know. So those sort of things, those little innovative things, you know, I'm okay at. But my big strength as a coach is bringing people together and getting them to believe in themselves as a group, as an individual, and as a group. And I think and I see that because I see how I like to be coached as a player, you know. And certainly you need to be told, oh, you're not doing that right, or your fence needs better, but it's that confidence and that ability to someone to believe in you and give you the confidence to go out and play well. So that's how I like to coach my teams, is that way, is like have a good relationship, put some trust in them. You know, there's going to be some hiccups, and, you know, you're going to coach them like the bad boys, and I'm going to call you two bad boys, right?
Yeah.
I would have loved to have coached you two.
Yeah.
You know, because instantly your football.
Wish I played for Queensland sometimes.
Yeah, well, you did have some rough
I don't think I would
periods
have got picked, but
No, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would have loved to.
You got to show faith in someone. You know, if like I was coaching myself, you give them.
You want to express themselves, you know.
Yeah.
You want them to express themselves and not take away, and that's why Wayne Bennett was so bloody good.
Yeah.
I mean, he had great players, but he's taken some bums to be great players.
What's his greatest strength, Kevvie?
Well, that's his ability.
Yeah.
His focus. You know, Alf is one of the hardest players to coach.
Yeah.
You know, as great a person as Alf is, you talk to some of the coach, they couldn't handle him.
Yeah. Why is that? Just too loose?
He's just different, mate.
Yeah.
You know, you sit in Wayne used to have, you know, because we weren't we were only semi-professional in the late 80s, early 90s. So all your meetings would be, in the afternoon, you train at night. So we'd have come for the team meeting, review or preview, and Alfie would be at the back, and he would just be disruptive. Wayne would put some clips up, and he'd say, "Oh, Neighbours is coming on, Wayne. You better hurry up and finish that one." "Oh, okay. Just disruptive, mate. But throw him over that white line or training, and
Just ready to go.
Ready to go. So, Alf, you played with players. They sit in team meetings, and I've coached them. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, mate, you are not listening to anything I'm saying.
How do you go as a coach, like obviously being great mates with Alfie and liking the knockabout type of blokes? How's that as a coach? Like, because some coaches go into that disciplinary.
Well,
how do you deal with that?
When I first went to the Broncos, and they finished last, and it was really frustrating, and I was getting frustrated. I wasn't being myself as a coach, so I'm tearing into them, flying into them, ripping. I remember we played a game up in Darwin and against Parramatta, and it was like 30-0 at half time, and it just wasn't me. And after the game, so I took a breath after that year and thought, well, you're not if that's how you coach, that's not effective. Ripping into someone after a game, it's not effective as a coach and a player. If you coach rips into you after the game, I don't think like after a game your emotions are too high. You shouldn't say too much. Have a look at the video, get your thoughts, and then make comment on Tuesday or Monday at training. When you're doing the review, that's when I see that you can get the best results from your players, on feedback. And good, honest feedback. But ripping someone, I'm not a big fan of that. If someone ripped me, all it did was just push me away and I'd go into my own personality. Yeah. Whereas, so that's how I coach now. I mean, there's times when you got to be strong and really definitive with your point that you're making, but there's an affection there as well that players, I think, respect if you just go about it the right way. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, and I don't want to backtrack too far back, but I don't want to skip past.
Wherever.
Yeah, we can go wherever. That's right. It's at the end of the day, this is about three blokes sitting here having a chat about footy. I want to go back and talk about the Broncos days of 5 grand finals. You won 92, 93, have a few years with no success, and then you go 97, 98 back to back again. What was your best, Bun? But what was the thought process like in between when you weren't winning them? Was it like, are they going to come again? How did you sort of reset every year? So you won the 2, had a few years away. How do you reset and to chase it again?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we did have to reset because 92, 93, that was sort of built over the 90, 91 sort of years, That's when that team came together. In 91, we missed the finals, and everyone wanted to sack Wayne Bennett because he was no good as a coach, and he was, not the right person to coach. And he moved Wally Lewis on, so that was a big decision. Wally was
Wally not playing well at the time?
No, he was sort of coming to the back end of his career, and I don't know exactly what happened, but they just came to an agreement that Wally wouldn't be there the next year, and it was huge at the time because Gene Miles and Wally Lewis were best mates off the field as well. Yeah. They played Origins and for Wynnum and for Australia, toured together, and then Gene became the captain. So there was a bit of friction there between those. They're fine now, but that caused a bit of friction. But the press wanted Wayne sacked. This was after 5 years at the Broncos, and they'd missed the finals, but no one from a playing point of view wanted him. He was the best coach we'd ever seen.
Yeah.
So he managed to hang on to his job, and then the success came on the back of that. The other success was buying Glenn Lazarus from the Raiders.
Yeah, right.
We dragged him out of there somehow, and I'm going to say I had a lot to do with that because Lazo and I were good mates in Canberra, and we just needed that middle forward, the bully, And Lazo didn't play like a bully, but he was just
his presence.
I got a question. Who do you reckon's better? Like early days, Payne Haas or Glenn Lazarus? Because it's coming up a lot in conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch Glenn Lazarus that much being younger, but you hear from all the older players through how great he was. Payne Haas, but
Lazo has been the prop. Lazo changed the way middle forwards played.
Yeah.
And now Payne's changing it again.
Yeah.
Like that try.
He's a freak.
I mean, Billy Walters, nice ball.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
but come on.
Always, yeah.
Payne is an amazing athlete. And I love coaching him. Such a great fella. He's there before everyone gets to training. It's no secret. And he's still there when everyone's going. You know, we do the finished training and he'd grab 5 or 6 of them. Right, we'll just do a bit extra here.
Yeah.
You know, he's just amazing.
I spoke to Pusey about this yesterday. Payne Haas runs to space. Other forwards run to bodies.
Yeah.
Is that taught? Is that something that's...
Definitely. Something I've coached into it.
Coached him.
No,
yeah.
No,
but like, when you say he practices thing, does he practice just to run to space? Because it seems like he's the only forward that sees space in front of him and he takes on, probably because his ability, he's a lot faster than other front row. But you can see he's thinking about before, instead of just catching the ball going, boom, I'm singling out this bloke and bumping him off.
Yeah.
I'm going to space.
No, he's thinking about it. That's the thing. And he can get to the space because of his leg speed. You know, Lazo probably didn't have... He was fast, Lazo, but nowhere near Payne's... I don't think we've seen a front row with his athletic ability, the way he motors. But Lazo was the instigator first of the front rowers, and I remember he grabbed me one day about front row play. This is when, because we coached together at the Jets back in the Queensland Cup, and he said, you know, there's more to being a front rower than just getting the ball and hitting it up. I said, what do you mean? You know, just get it and run hard. He said, oh, you're kidding. He said, show me some respect. He said, I put so much thought into every carry.
Yeah, right.
That I do, whether I'm getting in behind the ruck, where I'm at A and getting to B and showing and digging in. So, and it made me think and then I went back and watched a lot of his games, you know, and thinking, wow, 100% true. And I used to tease him because he never used to score many tries.
Yeah.
And he said, go back and have a look who's playing the ball when Renouf scores and when Hancock scores and when...
Be good playing off the back of
half in the front row's body.
Yeah, mate. He was the one playing the ball.
Yeah.
He started the quick play the ball.
Yeah.
You know, get up, quick, play it. Get your meters first, not surrender. None of the surrender stuff. Do the tough stuff, and then play it. And then he, defensively as well, and Payne's the same. If someone makes a break, he was there in cover. And I remember playing against him at the Raiders, and how many times he'd grab Alfie or grab someone half through just by being there and thinking about what's happening next. But Payne, back to him, he's a machine, and I haven't seen anyone like him. I rang Lazo the other day about him. I said, mate,
he's coming for you.
He's coming for you. He said, yeah, I know he is.
I commentated with Shane Webke the other night, and he was talking about, everyone talks about stats and meters. He goes, that's a load of shit, counting how many hit-ups they make, how many meters they make, and we're saying they're a good player from their meters. He goes, that's a load of shit.
Yeah, no, mate, Webke, we should throw him in the conversation.
Yeah.
You play with Eddie?
I just missed playing. I watched him.
You both missed him.
You missed him. I think I might have played it.
Mate, he was tough as.
06 he retired, didn't he?
06,
yeah. So I played it for 05
there. He played with a broken arm?
Yeah, that was in 2000. Yeah.
2000.
So I was the captain in 2000, luckily at the Broncos, and he broke his arm in the semi-final, and he came back like 2 weeks later. It was never healed, you know, and he knew that. But he had this scar, and he came into my room. This is the day before the grand final. He said, Kev, mate, I don't know if I can get through the game, but it's still not right. I said, well, just go and see Wayne and tell him you're not right, you know. He said, good idea, thanks, mate. So he went up and seen Wayne. He came back and he had sweat all over him. He was sweating up everywhere. I said, how'd you go? He said, no, I'm playing. It's good, mate. Wayne just gave him the confidence, to play. He didn't give him an option of you can't. And as it worked out well. But that's he was one of my favourites too, Webby. Just tough and he just run into anything.
What was your favourite grand final out of the 6?
They're all.
Do they get better?
No.
We said to Nathan, is it like you're losing your virginity?
Well, your captain's always the best. Your captain 2000. Your captain the 2000 grand final. He said
they're all special in their own ways. Like the Raiders one was the first time the Raiders had won, and then I get to Brisbane. 92 was the first one that they'd won, and then 93 was the first time back to back for the Broncos since might have been the Raiders or might have been Parramatta had won back to back a few years before that. So, and then 97 was Super League, which was different again. 98 we all came back together as the NRL, so that was different. And then 2000 I was captain. So they're all really special, and it's hard to separate, But I just look back and think, wow, how lucky and fortunate. I know, I was a good player, but I was just around great players and good people and good coaches and good systems.
Humble, eh?
Humble, yeah.
Yeah, but it's true though, boys.
But success follows you. Well,
Yeah, but-
it's either you follow all these good players or success follows you, Kevvie, because
Is it, Toddy?
no,
you went on
no, it's
and
not.
then you go on to coach and you deliver the same things.
Well, I tried to, but you just need the right people in anything to be successful. And you've been in successful teams and clubs and New South Wales and Australia, so you just need the right people. And if you don't have the right people, you're wasting your time. You know?
What was the key to that consecutive success, but at the Broncos? Obviously, you had a great team, like you said, but was it a culture thing?
Yeah,
Was
I think culture certainly played its part. I think the individuals making sure that they didn't get too far ahead of themselves. But I guess it's driven. In the great teams, the leadership from the players is really important. You got to have strong leadership from your senior playing group. I feel that's in all the good teams and clubs that I've been involved in, from coaching and playing. Even in my time in Melbourne as assistant coach, Cronk, Slater, Smith, leading the senior player group there for a long time. That's great for Craig.
yeah.
Have those guys, to fall back on, and likewise, at the Broncos, Wayne had Lazarus, Gilly, myself, Chris Johns, any number there in that era, and then at the back end of it, there was still myself there. Gordon Tallis, Petro Sivanasiva, Brad Thorne, all these blokes. I mentioned Gordy there. That were just good leaders of people, and they're just playing footy can be as easy or as hard as you want to make it, If you've got the right mindset, we don't bounce out of bed, well, in my memory, every day wanting to go out and tackle blokes twice as heavy as you. But you got to find a way. And if you don't, well, you're in the wrong game, That's how I see it.
Talking about halves, obviously I was on the back end of plenty of losses against the great Cooper Cronk, Jonathan Thurston, Darren Lockyer as well. Love to hear a little bit of insight on each of them, if you could. Starting maybe with Jonathan Thurston. Obviously marvelled at how great a player he was in every single way. But what was his greatest strength?
He's
being close to him.
I think his greatest strength was his ability to believe in himself, and also he was very competitive. So he wanted to win everything, whether it was goal kicking after training, a game of Monopoly, a game of chess. He just wanted to win everything, and he would stay in the game. And he's got that show and go that famously over his career, and he would do that, say 10 times a game. He would do the show and go, and it only had to work once, and that was his game. I'm not saying that was it for him, but he had that beautiful show and go, and he backed himself to do that every week. And if you weren't on your game, he'd get people all the time with it. And also his drive, as I mentioned, his drive was, he trained hard. I remember Johnny, even in those origin camps, he'd always be doing little extras with his conditioning, with his goal kicking, with everything that he did. So, he was a player, wasn't he, Johnny? And like you blokes, just loved footy, loved playing footy. He'd watched a lot of footy, very humble. He was a real treat to work. He was bloody good, Johnny, wasn't he? Sorry, fellas.
Mate, he was great. He was great, yeah.
Punish some of his work.
Yeah, it was a pleasure playing against him. But Cooper Cronk?
Yeah, different to Thurston, certainly. Cooper thought a lot more, I think, about the game. He was a manufactured halfback, Cooper. So I think I think he was playing centre in the early days, and then they turned him into a half, and then he just grew his game through just watching videos and practice. And he's very, very structured with everything. Even his kicking game was really structured, but really effective. I've sort of never worked with a player that thinks about the game more, and the little intricacies of the game. He puts a lot of attention to detail on those little points, and the 1%ers, they call them. He works really hard on that. And after a game, he would be the first player in, when I was the assistant at Melbourne, into the coaches' rooms. How do I go? How do I get better? What do I need to work on? Every week, to a point where you expected him. You had to get in there a bit earlier because he was coming in to do some stuff with you. So, really good on his craft. His kicking game was underestimated, I think, and his running game. But he just developed everything and got better and better. And I guess in that last grand final for the Roosters, his toughness can't be questioned.
Yeah.
With the shoulder blade or shoulder injury that he had,
Yeah.
he should never have played.
Mm.
But he did, so that indicates to me he's a tough little bugger as well.
And Darren Lockyer obviously played with Lockyer
Yeah.
in 2000
Yeah.
at fullback, and then obviously turned into 6. He was the best player I played against, I reckon.
Yeah.
From those early days, and I just his game management and
Yeah.
he was like Cameron Smith at 6, wasn't he?
He was.
From playing against him,
Yep.
but I'd love to know a bit more about him.
Well, he was more in the Alfie Langer sort of in the early days, in the Alfie Langer sort of player, just play.
Yeah.
You know, and don't think about it too much. But as he got older, then he became the captain. He became a bit more structured and a bit more. He thought a lot more about his game. But Lockie had everything. He could run, pass, kick. Very smart player as well. You know, he could put teams under pressure with his kicking game. A lot of people questioned his defence sometimes, but he can defend. You know, you get your body in front, make your tackles. So I think where Lockie's difference was his speed. You know, across the ground, he could get to defenders really quickly and put them under pressure, which freed up men on the outside or the inside. We used to have a little play back when he was playing fullback with Steve Renouf. The out to in ball, you know, so you throw the out ball, the defenders would chase, and then you come back on the inside. We scored a try.
I doing that with Hodges too for a while there.
Hodjo was good at it too.
Yeah.
Hodjo was good at it, and he brought that play into game because of his speed back on the inside through the the halfback or whoever was trying to get across. He's just like bang, he was gone. He was a goal kicker too, Lockie, and tough as well.
Had a massive boot.
Yeah.
Big torpedo bombs.
Well, he introduced that into the game, you know.
So we actually copied in 2013 when Jason Taylor took over, when Robbo was there, we started doing the box kick. So I worked tirelessly on it, but it was sort of created from the years when Lockyer was there. I think it was 2006.
Yep, definitely.
Instead of trying to find space, they started doing those high bit of forcings back. Were you involved around there?
I wasn't. No. I wasn't. I'd like to say I was.
That's where it started, didn't it?
Yeah. It did start then.
You see every team doing it now.
Yeah. And it's actually a rugby play, really, isn't it? You know, the box kick from rugby union. But yeah, Lockie masterminded that. Kick it high into that 10 by 10 metre square, you know, off the try line. Let them catch it and then hammer them, you know. And in those days, you could hammer them. You can't say much anymore, but yeah, Lockie, I played. So he came into grade. I remember in '96, I injured my ankle, so he came in and played against Parramatta in Parramatta. I stayed at home and I was sooking because I knew he was going to be a good player. Yeah. And Broncos end up winning the game 50-something to nothing, and Lockie was the star. So after the game, I'll get a phone call from Wayne Bennett. Alf, they rang me, you know.
You're on the out.
Yeah. Don't worry about that ankle, Kev. You take as long as you
take
like.
a rest.
We've found a star, you know.
Yeah.
And we all knew he was going to be a great player because he showed that, you know, from the early days. But he went back to fullback while I was still playing, and then he eventually moved into 5'8", where he had equally as much success for Queensland, the Broncos, and also Australia. He was a player. But did you ever meet Darryl?
I've heard stories from the tours.
Yeah. Darryl was apparently a really good fella too. So
Yeah,
maybe
I heard.
My alter ego's Darryl too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Imagine
You'd have a couple of alter egos, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got about 20, Kev. they went from 20, I'm down to about 3 now. I still chase a couple of them around.
Yeah. But isn't it great watching these, and I love watching you guys play as well, just how you got to evolve as a player, you know, and that's one thing that all those guys that I've spoken about, and Joey was the same, and Nathan's that now, they just keep finding ways to beat you, you know, which is amazing, and that defines their greatness, I guess, is they just got to keep getting better and working out ways, because the opposition do, you know. I remember trying to coach against Thurston, and you guys, you just do so much work on the video, but in the end of the day, the champions find a way to win, don't they?
What's the perfect combination? Obviously, you spoke with Alfie, he was on ball, and you played more as the roamer. Me and Todd, when we played together, we sort of I was probably more of a dominant on half, and Toddy was more of a runner. If you're coaching, what do you still think now? Well, depending who you got, or you think there's a specific way that still works best?
I reckon. Well, there's not a specific way, because whatever works, and you can only deal with the cards that you get. But like say someone like the Broncos, when we had Ezra Mam and Reyno together, I think that's a perfect combination. But Ben Hunt and Reyno seem to be doing fantastically well as well. But I remember flying to Sydney to sign Reyno with the CEO, and we took a Broncos jersey down with us. With the number 7 on the back, because it's a pretty famous jersey, like all number 7s at all the clubs. And that we thought that might be a little bit of a point of difference to try and get him out of South.
Did you have Langer on the back?
Yeah,
Or had the list of them all.
Should have done well, and but I could see when I pulled it out of the package that he liked it, But he didn't want to because
Such a famous club.
Yeah,
He's obviously come from South, but even as a player who's never played for Brisbane, it's got the best name in the game.
Yeah,
It
mate, it's
does.
a great
Well,
club.
it's a powerhouse.
It's a powerhouse.
It's a great club to play for, and and coach at obviously. Yeah. But when I saw the little bit of a look on his face, I thought, oh, we're going to get him, And then he bringing him to the club, that was 2022. He came in. He just just changed a lot of things that we're doing. Not changed, but we knew that he was the jigsaw that we sort of needed to get the club moving in the right direction. Because without a good half, front rowers and all these guys, you need them to win the big games and get in the big games. But the halves put the polish on the big games, like Cleary did in 23.
Yeah.
Without Cleary, Penrith, I don't think they win.
No, that's
Is
right.
he a footy nerd, Reyno?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loves it.
Loves his footy, yeah.
Yeah. And Reece Walsh is as well. They just love their footy. They just can't watch enough of it, which I believe if you're playing in those positions, you have to watch other people, other players, how they play, because that's how you learn. You see you guys doing stuff. Well, but in your day, if you're a young half coming through, you need to watch that and see, you got the show and go, you got the left footstep, right footstep, you got all this stuff going for you. So bring that into your game,
Yeah.
Watch the great players. Watch how they play. Study them, Joey Johns, he's probably one of the best halfbacks.
Did you play with Joey in a tour?
Played one game with Joey. Yeah.
In the halves?
No, he was hooker, and Alfie and I were for Australia.
How
This
good.
was end of season, yeah. Mate, it was amazing. He was only
Yeah.
he was amazing.
What was the night like after?
I'll tell you what it was
They
like.
roomed together, didn't they, Joey and Alfie?
Joey and Alfie, but
Because I remember speaking to Joey a bit about Alfie.
yeah. So and Wayne was the coach, and Joey everyone loves Wayne because Wayne just people and have you ever been coached by Wayne?
No.
Not even the All-Stars. We didn't talk to him much.
I probably more
I
than
got some good chats after a while.
Maroon.
And he was I was in awe of him the whole time.
He would have
sat
loved
at the back
coaching-
of the bus.
Yeah, that's the first thing he did in the New Zealand.
Yeah.
When he coached New Zealand, or assistant coach, first thing he did was went and sat right at the back of the bus, and all the big Kiwi lads, hang on, that's whoever's seat, not anymore, it's Wayne's seat, and they just laughed, and then he breaks the ice, mate.
Yeah. Makes you feel
Done.
comfortable, mate. Would have loved to have him as a coach.
Yeah, he would have got the best out of you two as well. He loves that rascal sort of, that type of footy players.
Yeah.
Your footy players, I forgot what I was talking about there now.
Joey.
So after the game, we had a few beers as you did in those days, and we all sort of dispersed. But the next morning, I got up to go to breakfast. It was about 9:30, and Joey's locked out of his room, but he's got a tally there.
Sitting in the hallway.
Sitting in the hallway.
How good.
A 5-star hotel. I said, Joe, what are you doing, mate? You're locked out? He said, no. He said, I'm having an early opener. It was great. It wasn't that great last night. I think it was his first. No, it wouldn't have been his first test because he would
Was
have
that
played.
95?
No, that was 98.
98.
So he'd already played in 95 World Cup and stuff. But when you see players and you want to play with them at rep level because there's going to be an instant sort of rapport and chemistry. And that was the case with Joey. And I got injured at training, so I couldn't play in the last test. So he went to 5'8", so we played him and Alf with the halves, and they just killed it.
Yeah.
Imagine him and Alf together.
Yeah, wow.
Holy sugar.
We touch on, obviously, we could talk all day about your footy career. Let's put your coach's hat on.
Yep.
When did the burning desire come? Was it when you were playing, you wanted to be a coach, or did you have it as a plan when we set goals in life? And obviously your goal as a kid was to play rugby league. When did you want to coach?
I knew I wanted to be a coach sort of the back half of my last year. Yeah. I started taking a few more notes, writing things down more, keeping game plans, keeping stat sheets, all that sort of stuff. Or I kept them for most of my career, but I took a bit more interest, and I knew that coaching would be something I felt I could be something I could do, you know, because as you know, it's not easy when you finish playing.
That's right, yeah.
So many players, and there can only be so many coaches and so many ex-players involved in the game. Well, it's a lot easier now, but still, even now, some players finish their careers and they just don't know what they need to do. But I was lucky; I knew I wanted to be a coach, so I got a job coaching the reserve grade at the Broncos, who were the Clydesdales. Wayne gave me the job there, and I started coaching the next year. You know,
Yeah.
and I loved it from there. So that was 22 years ago. So they
Wow.
talk about overnight success. Well, that wasn't certainly not from a rugby league point of view for me.
Yeah.
I did 22 years of coaching in different roles, from Queensland Cup level, assistant roles at Queensland, assistant roles for Australia, assistant roles at the Storm, the Broncos, assistant roles for Queensland, as I said, and then I got the Maroons job, Queensland State of Origin, in 2016. I did that for 4 years, and then I got the Broncos job. I went to Catalan. You boys have been over there.
France, yeah.
Coached
How'd you like
over
that?
there.
Spent some time with friends.
Yeah, I didn't. It was a good experience for me as a young
Same.
coach. It was tough going though, the French language. I mean, I was 42 or something when I went over there, and English, I was still mastering English. Let alone trying to learn another bloody language, you know. And I had the lessons and all that. I had Dean Payne over there with me.
Yeah.
Basil, he was great, and we had some Aussies. Birdie was there, Rolsey in the first year. We did pretty well. We got to the prelim final, and the second year we just
There's
bombed
that
it.
success again, Kevvie.
We just well.
Follows, is that?
The second year, not so good. We just bombed out. A lot of the Aussie boys that were there got injured and didn't play a lot. So
Seems
but it was
like a
still
lot of
great
us
experience
Aussies
for
that
me.
go there.
Hey?
Seems like us Aussies when we go there,
Well,
we get injured. Barcelona, they say how was France? I just say, well, I was in Barcelona more than I was
Yeah,
France.
I went
yeah.
they pick on the old fellas. I got pickpocketed in Barcelona.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I just walk around like that.
The Barcelona
Cover my
buzz.
mate. But there's so many
Barcelona.
distractions there, isn't there, for
Yeah,
the players?
there
You know?
was.
And they play that.
Well, I got off the drink the second year, so it was smooth sailing.
Yeah, but even the
Met my
travel and
missus.
the travel, like you can go anywhere very quickly, can't you?
Cheap too,
You know,
yeah.
and cheap.
Yeah.
What's the airline? Quick.
What do they got?
We won't give them a rap because they used to give you bum
€30
seats.
flights sometimes. You're going to Amsterdam, Barcelona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of you played there.
Yeah.
You like your time there?
Yeah, I enjoyed my time there.
Where'd you live, in Canno?
In Cano, right on the water.
Yeah.
I played some good football there. I always wanted to come home. I'd always had a desire to come home, and it just was in and out. So, but I enjoyed it there. It was a good experience. I ended up going to England for a couple of years after it, so I enjoyed. But yeah, I was ready to come
I had Chrissy
home.
Walker over there too. He was one of them.
yeah.
We used to
Chrissy
get the bad boys.
Walker.
Like Birdie was over there, you know.
Well, I got the same route
Birdie was out
walk,
there for
Scott, that I
years.
was the same as him. So I probably I don't left a nice taste in France for me, but it is what it is. That's footy, and you live and you learn, don't you?
Yeah, you do. But I wouldn't swap my 2 years. We took the family as well. So, and I've got 5 children. So, the oldest boy had finished school, but because there was nothing, he went to school with. So they put Jack.
You speak French?
They all speak French. Yeah, they
Still now?
well they can,
Yeah.
but they
Who was
don't.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all. There's 3 years. They're 3 years apart or 5 years apart, but they're all in the one class. It was a different experience for them, but it was good. You know, we loved our time over there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't swap it for anything because again, you're coaching and you're learning. It's hard, different language, but and different players, different clubs to coach against. All the Super League. Super League got some really good players, haven't they? You know.
Yeah.
So that opened up, you know, a few things as well for us. And we see a lot of Super League players now coming down and doing quite well. The elite ones are very good.
Especially at Wigan then, Sean O'Loughlin and
Yeah,
Sammy Tompkins, those guys, they're top shelf, aren't they?
yeah,
Especially over there.
definitely. The big 4 clubs there, really, you know, with Leeds, Wigan, St Helens, and Warrington. But yeah, I think the NRL might be looking at trying to pick them up.
Yeah,
Pick
it seems
should be
so.
good.
You speak on, obviously, when you were playing, you had some great coaches. When you finished playing, you were in different assistant roles. Do you learn heaps from those coaches, or do you do it Kevvie's way?
No, I learned heaps from all
Yeah.
the different coaches. Yeah, I was with Wayne for a long time as a player, and then as a assistant and the like. So he'd be the coach that I've sort of been around the most. So I was at 3 years with Melbourne. That was a great experience with Craig Bellamy. So different to Wayne Bennett and the way Wayne does things, but Craig's been equally successful. You know, So they were the main two that I spent a lot of time with. Other ones were at rep level, you know, where you're still learning all the time. As a coach and even as a player, you never stop learning, you know. And I'm still learning now as a coach, and certainly listening to you know, the game is changing all the time, so it's good to have players and elite players that you're coaching. They actually educate you as well, you know. Or we used to come back from Origin camps when Wayne was coaching at the Broncos. He wasn't the coach, but the first thing he'd ask, right, what'd you learn? How do we get the place better here, the Broncos? What'd you learn, you know? And I remember Lazo brought back from an early Origin camp from New South Wales this thing called no passing in your own half, like at the Broncos. Come on, Lazo, that's not going to work.
To Reyno.
See it, mate. Get the outball going, you know. But so I think I'm not sure. It might have been Phil Gould, the coach. So they had a thing from kickoffs. They just did 4. This was way back, boys. So you know, you look at me like, well, you're kidding. But this is way back.
That was a Gus thing.
Gus Gould, right. 4 big forwards, kick it. And we're thinking, well, that's pretty boring, you know. That's not much fun to play. No, but you win when you do that. You win, you know. So all these sort of little ideas come back, and even like when I'd love if I'm at a club, I love our players to be involved in Origin.
Yeah,
it's just such a great experience because you're mixing with other players and other elite players and find out how they do things. And secondly, the coaching side of it, you know, like the coaches, like Billy Slater at Queensland, for instance, you know, I think it's wonderful that players get to mix with him and pick his brain a bit. And the same with New South Wales. Laurie's there this year. Like, they're going to learn things from Laurie, you know. Everyone's different and does things differently, but there's always ways you can get better by just listening and learning, just saying nothing.
Did you have a different approach coaching Queensland and had plenty of success there as opposed to NRL coaching? Or it's the same
Well, I was
philosophy?
pretty fortunate with Queensland because we had those guys there for the second couple of years when they all retired. There's a new leadership group in for Queensland. So that was sort of a little bit different because you had to sort of coach them a little bit more. But with that old gang from Queensland, they sort of, you know, Mel did a great job in giving them the power to sort of run the camps and play the footy that they wanted to play. So that was a little bit different. But when I got to the Broncos, you need great leaders in your team, senior players, and without that, you're not going to be successful. So we had to. That's the reason. One of the reasons was, you know, getting Reyno in. We brought Capewell in. Flegler was a good leader at the Broncos, only a younger player, but good leader. Carrigan's good leader. Haas, good leader. So you need those good leaders. If you're going to be successful, you've got to have them, you know, in your team.
The grand final year, obviously, probably a bit mixed emotions bringing that up, but obviously we had the luxury to speak to Nath about the way he saw the game, and they were down and out.
Yeah.
He even admitted that, and it wasn't probably until he, you know, brought the team back into the game in the last 20 minutes. But what was that like, that whole year and the feeling of that game?
Yeah, it was really good. It was something that we sort of built to. I felt like we built towards that over the 2 years prior, you know, and we'd assembled the right team to do well. That was my belief. So getting, you know, and you guys would know, apart from winning a grand final, the next best feeling is knowing you're in a grand final. How good's that feeling? You know, when you
week before,
you win the prelim final, you're back in the sheds.
Yeah,
you know, and you know you're going to a grand final. That's a great moment and feeling. That's what sort of drives me, you know. And then you get to the grand final and the day, and it's just such a great occasion. But only one team can win.
Yeah,
you know? That's the sad thing. So after the game, through that game, I always felt really confident. Even at half time, Flegler scored, you know, just right on, and Penrith had been the more dominant team with possession, but we were in front 8-6. So I thought we could, if we had a really strong second 40, we could win this thing, you know. And then what happened with Ezra and Walshy, and they went ballistic for 20 minutes, and all of a sudden it's 26-14 or something, or 10-8. And then Nathan decided to, and just a few things happened that, you know, just the footy gods, as we spoke about earlier, So, and he was amazing. I've got to say that. I remember after the game, I went over and saw Ivan. We sort of crossed, and I just shook my head and said, "Mate, I can't believe it." And he said, "Neither can I." And he just walked off, winning, and we lost.
Where's Nath rank in?
Mate,
he's on the path of the greatest ever.
He's on the path, isn't he? And he's not even finished yet. He's 27.
Got plenty more to go by the sounds of him the other day in his interview.
Mate,
it's just
what he did in that game. Again, he didn't do it all by himself, but most of the stuff was him. You need good players around you to help you, but he was he was the man.
We spoke about him and his dad. His dad being a coach. You coach your son Billy.
Yeah.
How is it? How is it? What's it like? It's
good, mate.
Special.
Very special. From I've coached Billy a lot in juniors and underage stuff. Coached all my kids at different stages of their careers, but to get to that spot and get to a grand final with him, that's. And I know we lost, and that sucks. Right, at the end of the day. But if you could have one other thing, you'd want to be in the grand final, don't you?
That's right. Yeah.
You hear some player, I'd rather not make the grand. What a load of shit.
Bullshit.
You want to be there, the
Once
big
the dust
dance.
settles.
That whole week. I'm sure we've all got great memories of the week and even now it's so big the grand final week. It's just a great thing to be part of, and very special. So we lost. I get it. It sucks, but just being there and I feel really proud of what my time at the Broncos and what my achievements and the club's achievements were when I was there. So I sleep well at night knowing that
bloody oath.
I did the best that I could do. They think they've got someone better. That's your choice. Go do it, lads.
How do you deal with criticism? Obviously, like we said before, pretty humble guy, but there's obviously the eye of the tiger underneath that. You're such a competitor, but how do you deal with the chaos, the dramas within footy, and especially being a head coach? Like, have you got a process that you deal with it? Because you've obviously dealt with it pretty successfully over your career.
Look, no one likes criticism, and you blokes would be the same. No one likes being criticised, but again, it's an opinion that people have. I always remember Wayne Bennett saying to me years ago, if you start listening to the critics or to supporters or the media, you might as well just go and sit with them because that's where you'll end up. So you've got to try and block it out. Even as a player, you've got to block it out if you're going through a rough patch. And you blokes have copped so much garbage over the years.
But it's just all bullshit, isn't it?
It's bullshit.
We're only talking about how well Cherry handled it this week and how it's just all white noise.
But you've got to train yourself.
Yeah.
This thing here, this brain of yours, your mind, you've got to train yourself to just not listen to the garbage.
Were you always like that?
Always.
Even from a young kid?
From a young kid. I
brush it
wasn't,
off.
this brain didn't work at school very well.
Yeah, same.
Well, I was okay, but school just didn't grab me. There's academics there, and I've got so much admiration for them, that how they did it so easy at school.
School's so fucking hard, wasn't it?
It's hard, mate.
School is hard.
To concentrate.
Yeah.
Karen and I, we were thick and brick at school. That was our nicknames. You think it's funny, like it is. It's funny.
Yeah.
But then...
thick and brick. That's what they should call us.
That's what we used to walk through
Your
the
brother was
playground.
box
Morning,
thick and brick and
morning.
box.
Because Stephen was pretty clever. He got a TE score of 9. So it's different now. But back in the day, he used to get a TE score. He got 940. And they used to laugh that Kerrod and my score combined, we got 940. So that's a bit of fun, bit of a joke. 2 and 1, yeah. But so I was very lucky that rugby league was an avenue. And when I first finished school, it wasn't. It was only semi-professional. So I did a carpentry apprenticeship, finished my carpentry and at the Raiders, and then 95, the Super League war, they sort of doubled our wages and we became full-time. So we're very lucky in that sense. But I always was going to play rugby league and no one was going to stop me, no one. So, and I was lucky that, as I say, it became, a full-time sort of avenue for us to pursue, Yeah, but this thing's very powerful, and if you don't, and I feel a lot for today's players, and no one does any work in rugby league. I mean, they have offices and they have certain things, but more needs to be done with players and coaches, for that matter, about your mind and how you think.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing work in that space now,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Yeah, we're a little bit going.
You've been to hell and back, you two, to be fair. And
How would you educate that, being an old school sort of guy coming through? Are you into mindfulness, or do you reckon it's a bit of...
Well, I don't have any experience.
Just toughen up sort of thing?
No, Well, it's not as easy. Just toughen up.
Yeah.
Like that's garbage.
But you've seen both. You've seen the new generation as a coach and then the old school.
Well, it's training. You have to train. I've trained myself since I was 5 years old. I used to cry if I couldn't throw a six at Monopoly.
Yeah.
So I trained myself. Don't cry. You know.
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't throw a six.
Yeah,
throw a five, Kev. Move on. You know, but it's all training.
Yeah.
And it's got to start from a young age. You know, and I think the more we can do, and I'm so grateful you guys and you are working in that area because you got experience with it.
Yeah.
You've both been.
Yeah, it's all lived experience,
so
isn't
badly
it?
off field rather than on field. You know, and you've come. Look at you.
Yeah.
Going great.
Yeah, we're going all right, Kev.
No, you're going good, aren't like you know. Yeah. To be fair,
and it's about change, and it's about obviously realising what's holding you back and what's not holding you back, and getting rid of some.
Well, you have to make changes.
You've got to make changes. You've got to at some point look at yourself in the mirror and. Like I look back on my career and think obviously about change and stuff, but rugby league's a small part of our lives. What we're doing now, this podcast stuff makes us relevant and talking about footy. We love footy. We love giving back, and we can give back by giving our story. Before we finish up, Kevin, you've spoke so much about your career in coaching, and I can see sitting here, the fire in the belly is still to coach.
Yeah.
I can see why you're so great, Kevin. You're a competitor.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's a massive trait. And you speak about that. Like, if the job comes up tomorrow, do you put your hand up when there's speculation?
I'm gonna. I want to coach again. You know, 100%. I do. I feel like
I'd love to be coached by you, Kevvie.
Look, honestly, and I'd love to coach. I feel like I'm a modern day coach. Like I understand players. I've got kids that are playing. Yeah. You know, I've got. My daughter's playing rugby league.
Yeah, right.
You know,
how's that go watching that?
Oh, it's sometimes you got to move away, you know. But she went to Vegas, and played in the Nines women's comp. She got invited through a team here, but she loves playing rugby league, and I feel like I got this connection with people that I know how to get the best out of them and give them confidence to get the best out of them, you know. And it's not so much about rugby league, but just understanding them as people, and what I have to do as a coach to get them to be the best person on themselves, which helps their footy. You know what I mean? Like Reece Walsh, she's been heavily critical, rock star and all this bullshit. Be the rock star.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, that's his personality.
That's what makes him.
That's what makes him. Yeah. Right? And they're into him about painting his nails and all that stuff. Mate, paint your nails. I don't give a shit. Just go out there on the weekend.
You don't want to change him. It's sort of that, and you sort of see a little bit. They're trying to change him a little bit. You let people be how they are. I remember growing up, I had the weird hairstyles, and when you go away from that, it's not your true self. It's like when you've got a girlfriend to tell you not to do something. It's like, well, if you tell me not to do something, I'm going to rebel, aren't I?
No, and there's going to be mistakes, except that there will be some mistakes along the way. But you fix the mistakes and go forward. You know, I think that's the best.
It builds trust when someone as a leader lets you be yourself.
Yeah.
Such a better environment. There's more comfort. You feel safer.
Yeah.
As a player when your coach is.
And sometimes it's hard as a player to be yourself if you're intimidated by a coach.
Yeah.
You won't be yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
And you won't be the player that you can be if you stay in that environment. You know, I see it. You know, and I was very fortunate with the coaches that I had. That, you know, but I see some coaches and I see the way they coach, and I think, oh, thank the Lord I'm not at that club, or I wasn't at that club, because you're not going to win. And it's about winning, isn't it? Footy's winning.
That's right.
Having a good time, you know.
Well, before we let you go, Kev, we always ask two questions at the end. This would be two things. So, advice for younger kids and advice for younger coaches.
Right. Well, that's younger kids.
Yeah.
For playing.
Yeah.
Right. You got to be fit.
Yeah.
You got to be committed.
Yeah.
And you got to put the team first. Team first mentality.
Yeah.
Right. And Wayne Bennett told me this one as well. There's two other things that he used to say to me, which a little bit funny, and say to the team, but also, you know, very true.
Yeah.
Don't be late for training, because that puts you above other people.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're better than other people. Think your time's more important. And the second thing is, stay out of jail.
Beautiful.
Pretty good advice, eh?
Mm-hmm.
For a young kid.
Yeah.
Don't go to jail. Say it. No one wants to see you in jail. Stay out of jail.
Yeah.
Do whatever you have to do to stay out of jail. You know, but I love the team environment and committing to a team. And you two are the same. I can see the way you played. You know,
Yeah.
you love being in that team environment, whether it's on the field, which is where you do your best work, or off the field. You like to enjoy yourselves and just try and be who you can be. You know, and I've done silly things myself and been in trouble. You know, so you just got to get on with it, and that's how I see it.
Yeah.
And from a coaching perspective, I think you can always be better. I learned there's some things I did at the Broncos that I'm better because they were things that I sort of not regret, but could have done better.
Mm-hmm.
But it's learning for me.
Yeah.
You know, so next time I get a job, I'll apply that practice.
Yeah.
And make sure it doesn't happen again. Only fools do things twice. You know, so can I be a better coach? Yeah, of course I can. But I feel like right now this version of me is ready to go, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I got to say, you know, the podcasting, and I'm working at Fox and a bit on Triple M and all that, which I love the game so much. You know, so I'm just doing what we can at the moment and just enjoying life.
When you get that job, Kevvie, sign us up as your halves coach.
That's done. Boys.
Yeah, that's it. And before we finish,
you two would have a really good grasp on what's got to happen.
Yeah.
And your life experiences. That contributes so much more to a player when you share that knowledge and information than, look, if you run at his inside shoulder and flip the ball around the corner, that's...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your life experience, you should be coaching you too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we enjoy it. We've done some stuff. I'm full-time at Kevvie.
And I'm not saying head coach, but, in some capacity.
At some point we will. I would like to.
Enjoy that,
we enjoy that side.
Give it back to the game because you got so much to offer, both of you.
This is a weird one to answer, and we've stumped a few of them. It's, why are you so good, and what's the secret?
Why am I so good?
Don't be humble either.
No, no.
Tell the truth, and this is a good one because I feel from the guests we've had, you take so much away from it. So, and it's a hard question to answer. Why are you so good?
Well, the self-belief's the thing. Believing in yourself is the first thing, and the second thing is putting good people around you.
Yeah.
To support what you believe, that believe in you, and my family have been so good for me through my career as a player and also now coach. My wife and all my kids have been so supportive. You know, they've lived and breathed every moment as well, the good times as well as the bad. So I think it's really important if you're going to be successful that you put good people around you to keep you on track. You know, and if you're feeling a bit down, they got to pick me up. Or the other way, if you're getting a bit big for your boots, pull you back down. So come on, don't be a dickhead. Don't do that. That's not you. That's not who you are. You just be yourself. And I feel like that, my family, and I've got a couple other people in my life that, give me that guidance and that direction when things are going really good or when things are not going so good.
Yeah.
So that'd be the two things that I'd be doing.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Mate, it's been I've learned so much in a small part of time, and we wish you well on your coaching journey, and I'm sure that job will come, and we'll be just waiting for our...
Now I've got a question for you too. I've got two questions.
Okay.
Above board, please, Kevvie.
Yeah, it's all above board. First thing is, who's going to win this year's Origin Series?
New South Wales.
Yeah, both going to say that.
I can't go
Right?
Of course.
Right, that's it. And the second thing is, I'll be in Sydney in a few weeks, and you're coming on my podcast.
Yeah.
Right, and then you're coming on my podcast.
Yeah, it's sweet as.
I'll
That's
do you
fine.
separate, not together. I'll do you separate because you earned the right.
Yeah.
So is that a deal?
Yeah, deal done.
We've just got to find a studio.
Yeah.
Right, and I'll be down.
Well, I'm on the Gold Coast.
You're on the Gold.
Yeah, so I can
That's
come to you
easy.
anytime, Kevin.
But let me know. I'm going back to Europe soon, Kevvie, so you let me know, please.
When are you going?
In a few weeks, but
Right.
we can organise
Well, I'm
a
going
day.
to lock that in.
Awesome.
Okay, leave it with us. Thanks for having us, fellas.
No, thank you.
We love
Honestly, it's
mixing
a
it up.
pleasure. Thanks, Kevvie.
No, thanks.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure being here.